بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. If you recall, last week we discussed Surah Al-Ghashiyah, and we said that Al-Ghashiyah carries really the connotation of overwhelming, if you like, darkness. Ghashiyah. It's as if like the curtains came down on something to start really a new life. And Brother Naji made really the connection between or made the analogy, as we have seen from previous surahs, that Quran always connects the message with light, while when people go astray from the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His message, they fell into the darkness. So really, how should we basically deal with, or how we can live our life where we can really remove that really darkness and let light prevail. And so it is interesting that the surah immediately after Al-Ghashiyah is Al-Fajr, which is dawn. So even the title gives you really like also the hope that the darkness is not going to stay, but it needs a lot of work, okay, in order really like to reach basically the dawn, okay, حتى مطلع الفجر, as we have seen it in Surah Al-Qadr, إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. And I think bringing Surah Al-Qadr to the discussion will be helpful to make also the connection between the different, if you like, parts of the surah. Let me give you quickly the structure of the surah that will help us all, like, because really there is a big challenge in this surah, especially at the beginning, because also it starts with an oath. And we have seen before how really this genre that is almost unique in Quran, okay, is very challenging sometimes to see. Okay, it's easy like to know what is the meaning of the words, but what they have to do with the subject matter of the surah. What is the surah trying really to bring to our consciousness? What type of problems the surah is really trying to solve? And so we'll see at the beginning an oath, and it's from where also the name of the surah comes, because the first oath is by Al-Fajr, Wal-Fajr, okay? Then we will see the surah takes us through a journey to the past experiences, and to tell us about the outcome of previous people or nations or dynasties, okay, see what happened to them, and to basically start asking the question, what was really the root cause of their decadence or their disintegration, or basically even disappearance, okay, from the face of this planet. So what happened, or what was really the main problem? And then Quran bring before us a problem that was prevalent at the time, and in fact I call it really an argument. The Quran brings an argument about a social issue. And I see in that an example where an individual or a problem, a social problem, but we may see it manifesting itself at the individual level. Which means that if you need to solve it, if you do not see that the root cause is in the societal, you cannot really solve it. And so the argument speaks in the individual sense, if you like, the human being. Probably each one of us come at one point and ask that question. So although this is something that happened at that time, but it is one of the perennial problems that all the time, in every era, the human being may ask really the same question. But the beautiful thing that Quran goes to the root cause of the problem, and to show us that really the root cause is in the society. And we will see what are really these social problems that we need to pay attention to them in order to solve our personal, if you like, and individual problems. Without that, I think we will be really defeating really our purpose, because we have not seen. And again, for those of you who may be interested, there is a very interesting really example for that in social sciences. And I'm sure that Sister Arshia is aware of that. Durkheim has a very interesting book about suicide. And the thing that came out from this book is that really he was the first to show that although suicide is an individual tragedy, very rare to see like groups of people coming together and deciding like to commit suicide. In the vast majority of the cases, they are really sporadic, happening at the individual level. But he was able to show by data that these individual incidences or incidents are really socially predicted. So if you do not look at what is happening in the society, you are not going really to solve the problem. If you approach it as, because it eludes us, because it really presents itself as at the level of the individual, but it is socially predicted, and unless we approach it this way. And I see something similar here. These questions may be asked by us individually, but if we do not address the root cause, which is in the society, I don't think we are able really to solve or answer really the answer. So immediately we will see how Quran immediately divert our attention to the real cause of that problem, which is really in society. So these are really, again, Quran is in this surah will be talking about outcomes that happen here in this life, and at the end of the surah comes back to the final outcome, which is going to happen in the next life, in the hereafter. Again, we will see a different really approach, okay, to the day of judgment, and again highlighting the importance of the human responsibility and accountability and the purpose of being here. And without that, it will be very difficult to even entertain the idea, okay, of another life really coming after this life, because there is no way to prove it, okay, like I mean in a tangible or really a materialistic really way, okay. So that's basically the structure, or the different topics that the surah really talks about, and we would now like to see how we connect really the dots, okay, especially when it comes to the beginning of the surah, the oath itself. Okay, I will really just again for the respect of the time. Let me ask Dr. Najid to start really. Again, see how we can really also understand. A surah like that, especially after we talked about really al-Ghashiyah. But I want really, before Naji starts, I was thinking about something that makes me. Yeah, in fact, if you can, we can also do it this way. But the analogy of photography here makes a lot of sense. We take pictures in the light, but where do we develop them? In the dark. So our actions take place in the light of this life, but they will be developed in Al-Ghashiyah.
That's pretty amazing.
So think about it this way, and believe me, thinking about it this way makes you scared. Nothing. What the verse in Surah Al-Kahf? صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. There is nothing small or big that will be accounted for, okay, in the day of judgment. So let us start with. You like it, Ashiya?
Like you said, it's
but it's really scary.
And, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so beautiful and it's so scary at the same time.
What we saw so far is Quranic world view about human being, how the human being really is introduced. And we saw together there how the Quran is using a lot of images to introduce to us very deep and very complex concepts, the way to see human being. And so far we saw that human being really analogy, the Quran uses an analogy with the universe. And we see that human being has that capability of an-nahar and al-layl, day and night. And the message itself, as we saw in Shamsi wa Duhaha, is Ash-Shams wa Duhaha. We saw together that وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَ is a nahar that make us see Ash-Shams as is. Because as we saw together, outside the atmosphere, the sun will be just, small disk, and it will be just darkness. So the message itself will need to create that society where it can be seen for others. So others can see the message, that society has the ability to reflect the message. So the message by itself is not enough. And Muhammad ﷺ, and he's doing that hard work to give birth to what will be called al-ummah that can reflect the message. And we saw also the human being is seen as a trip. We are in move, that there is time, and you can move toward the darkness, or you can move toward the light. And we saw in Al-Qadr, in أنزلناه في ليلة القدر, as Brother Walid reminded us, and that trip will be سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. With the message, when we have the guidance will help you and to make your trip peaceful till مطلع الفجر. And we know as al-fajr, maybe use the same word in Arabic. Al-fajr is, the beginning of, you see the light. And as we saw, there is a proverb say the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's really al-fajr is become after when you leave, maybe you are hopeless. Al-Layl is so long, and as if you reach, there is no light after that. But Al-Fajr really give you that hope. You can really see the light. And after the light, you say, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. And the duha we saw together is the beginning of the day, but when everything is clear, when you don't even feel any effort to move, to know your direction. So here is also, Al-Quran is talking about Al-Fajr, Al-Layl, Al-Layl إِذَا يَسْرِي. So there's Al-Fajr, there's Al-Layl, and we saw Al-Layl and Al-Nahar by analogy to the human being. Human being has Al-Layl إِذَا جَلَّاهَا أو النَّهَار إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, has that ability. The human being can hide the message. And we saw in Al-Ghashiyah, فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرٌ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. But the Quran at the same time, إِلَّا مَنْ تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرَ. So the Quran is addressing that the message is not strange to the human being. It's really you are reminding them. But there's an exception, تَوَلَّى وَكَفَرَ. You can, just you don't like to remember, or you refuse to remember, or you refuse the message. So the human being also, they have this ability. For a certain reason, they can refuse the message. And not because sometimes, because you have the truth, everyone will welcome you. For example, if you have a criminal who killed someone, and he knows very well, you know that what he did, he will not be very, very happy because you know the truth. He may try to kill you also. So it means human being also is very, very complex. So it means it's not because you know the truth or the message represent the truth, everyone is going to accept it. Mm-hmm. So you need to be aware of that. Even if you are the Prophet himself, there is always man tawalla wa kafara. He will turn his back or her back, and kafara is cover up and have that ability. So is the human being also by analogy of Al-Fajr and Layl, human being also can move toward, you can see the message in their life and how they changed them through time, but also they can move the opposite direction. And more they move the opposite direction, more they totally cover the message, and even they lose the ability to come back. But we saw Tawalla in Surah Al-Layl, وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى, is falling, and nothing will really save him. He can reach point non-retour, no return. He cannot even return, so because the extreme. This is why the Quran from Surah 1 is working to make us aware of the danger to go to the extreme. Man tagha is at-tughyan. What's interesting here is, maybe you can reflect more about Al-Ashr, Shafa', Watr. I will leave it maybe for another time if we can reflect together about.
Can I say something?
Yes, please. Yes.
Just this morning, I had an idea, and really, I am saying it to be tested. Mm-hmm. Okay, by you and really the rest of the brothers and sisters. So if we really take Al-Fajr as really and we accepted the analogy of being representative of the message that give us the light in order to make our trip even during night peaceful, and with the hope that at the end of that, and in fact this is how the surah started, Surah Al-Qadr, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ, Layla, and night. Okay, so this is how Quran was revealed, but this Layla can become peaceful, okay, because of the light of the message that is contained in Quran. So if we can probably see in the next verse, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, the closest to that would be the nights, the early nights when Quran was basically revealed. And we know it could be the last 10 days of Ramadan, because we know Quran was revealed in Ramadan. So it is possible that Quran is referring to these early nights when Quran was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. So we know this, that Quran was revealed in Ramadan, في ليلة القدر, and Layla, okay, again, so at every Layla Quran will be revealed, will make it really a peaceful night. So don't be afraid of the dark. You be afraid of the darkness if you don't have the light of the message. But then I was little stuck by الشفع والوتر. Literally, it means even and odd. One is odd, two is even, three is odd, four is even. This is how we use the two terms in the Arabic language, okay? Odd and even, shafa'. But what is really the relationship between odd and even when Quran is really talking about Al-Fajr in contrast to the Layl, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَسْرِ, verse number 4, okay? And Layal and Ashr, which if we accept that this may be in reference to the nights of Ramadan when Quran was revealed, then I asked myself, where we use witr or watr? Where do we use witr in our daily life?
At night.
Night. To pray and witr. What does it really mean?
Witr means odd?
Well,
Yeah.
literally it means odd, because the last rak'ah, you make one rak'ah, which is witr, or you make it 3 or 5 or 7, but it has to be an odd number.
Enter the layl with.
So, what does it really mean when you pray witr? This is the seal of your prayer at night. Sayyida Aisha says that Al-Maghrib is a 3 rak'ah, which is an odd. So she said Al-Maghrib is the seal of the day prayer. So every revelation came down, was seconded by another one after it.
So it was always even.
So let us say we had Suhuf Ibrahim. This is the revelation to Ibrahim, but it was not forever. Came after it, let us say, Suhuf Musa, the Torah, but it was not the final. It was seconded by Al-Injil, the Gospel. But when it comes to Quran, it was the seal. It became really the water without being seconded. So we need to really deal with Quran, with this message as the final message. Make sense?
Right, yeah.
And so the same way, because what is the meaning when we say we pray? So I see it. Every time we pray witr, we need to remember that the message that we have in Quran, this is the last message. It will not be seconded. And this is, as Naji all the time reminds us, that this is really a challenge to Muhammad ﷺ and to his companions, because they have to relay the message, because there will be no other book. And he has limited time to do that. And Muhammad ﷺ was really successful, because in one generation he was able to make the change through a message that it will not be seconded, and we need to deal with it. We have to ask ourselves, how should we keep that message playing the role of Al-Fajr?
This interpretation is really very beautiful, because
it makes sense now, because it is connected. I mean, that is how I
can connect it to the condition, because the first time I see the Quran, you say, هل في ذلك
قسم لذي حجر.
Is there in that an oath for one of perception?
Reason.
And the hijr, you know, in Arabic, women maybe know better than me, when you put your baby in your hijr. Hijr is It's that ability to put everything together.
Together, yeah, and to protect.
To control.
Yes.
They are very, very, very related.
And because our minds, our reason is expected to protect us from going astray.
Yeah.
Whole and complete.
You see, because even the word aql in Arabic, mind or reason, it's very similar to hijr. Again, because it protects you, yaql, from really like, to bring things together, okay, and to protect. So so I saw in it also a challenge, okay, to that small group now with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how they need to deal with, how they felt the responsibility that there is really the last message. This is the last prophet. But the problem today that we are not really dealing with Quran representing the seal. We say it, okay, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the seal of the prophets. We say that Quran is the last revelation and its state of perfection and completion. But the point that we have been really struggling with today is how we can keep the message alive, because we are still approaching it in a static way. Whatever was extracted from it before, we think that it remains a solution for us. While Quran, and there is a very nice saying of Hadrat Umar, we need to stir Quran so that you will see its, he will call it fujur. Fujur doesn't mean, I mean in Arabic it may have the negative connotation of going astray, but fujur also is the plural of fajr. Dawns. Fajr, fujur. So, and fajr also has the meaning of exploding. So you need to stir Quran to bring you new meanings. This is the first, I mean, we are talking about the first generation of Quran, and they were with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were aware that Quran has deeper meaning that needs to be extracted. What about after 1400 years with all these new challenges? We are still unfortunately dealing with it as if we are living 100 years or 1,000 years or 1,500 years ago. And this is why we are not going to see it working. Not because it doesn't work, because the way we approach it, and Quran itself described itself this way. قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي. If you count the words of Quran, they will be finite. But Quran is saying there is no limit to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which mean not words as signifiers, but words as signified. The meanings are limitless. And we need to approach Quran at every era, if you like, or at every period, and see what are really the challenges that we are facing, and ask Quran really to respond to the new challenges. Not to look back and say, oh, who said this about this? He said it based on their challenges. He or she said it according to the circumstances that they were facing. Today, you cannot duplicate these circumstances. They are completely different.
You're also linking what you were talking about last week in terms of being a critical thinker and approaching the Quran as like a live message.
Exactly.
Because when you do that, you're igniting love for the Quran as opposed to hate for the people who don't make sense to you. And that's what usually happens, that people don't understand what somebody else's interpretation is. And it, like we were saying, the Turkish one says women should be treated like this and this, and all of a sudden it's like all these women in Turkey are saying, how could the Quran say something like
exactly.
that? But it's not the Quran that's saying it, it's the interpretation. And that's what we were talking about.
Exactly.
So then you're opening up a frame for actually loving Quran and loving Allah, because it is.
And I can see it. I can see it in you. When you see something, you say, it is lovable. cannot be accepted. You will not accept it. I mean, full stop. You say this cannot be Quran, and then you start searching about a different meaning.
That means we...
from inside Quran, not from outside and projected on it. Yes,
that means modernize the Quran.
See,
because this is too much discussing about this, that we should modernize the Quran, or that makes the people...
I don't want to use that term. I just want to keep Quran an open corpus, open book. Okay, it's not the way we sometimes say it is not a sacred book in the meaning that I can touch it.
The idea,
you see what I mean?
This may be. It's not really modernizing. It's not the term. This is the idea. Okay, I'm going to. Suppose I'm not believer. I don't believe in the Quran. Okay, but I want to approach the Quran in what we call scientific way, if you like. The Quran himself. There is self-awareness. The Quran is saying لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي. It means if you take the sea, for example, as ink and is not enough, to write or to approach the Quran. The Quran is saying that, it's not me. So why I need to force Al-Quran to be just that interpretation that was done 1,000 years ago. This against the Quran himself. Is not what the book is saying. The Quran is saying يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر. Allah is saying we made it easy, but you need to dig, and try to understand. The Quran is saying I am the book for this era, for the new era. So why I need to limit the Quran for a certain time? The Quran is saying that, it's not me. So here is, the analogy is, for example, today we try to understand the world at the level of action, with what we have as tools, science, knowledge, and everything. But we have tried to understand it to make our life possible. We are not modernizing the world. We are modernizing, if you like, our view to the world. The world is the world.
Modernizing
so
the
we are
approach.
not modernizing.
Yes.
Quran is Al-Quran, is the reference for the meaning.
Exactly, and the other problem is, we talked for my sisters, Arabic culture and what the Quran says mix. Some, how you say, gelenek, I don't know, like the life...
like the customs and the traditions.
Yes, traditions.
Yeah.
Exactly, traditions and the Quran, what says, is so mixed. And we need to separate which comes from tradition and which comes from Quran.
That's exactly what they're saying, though. If we approach it as critical thinkers and look at the book as whole and complete, it will give us the ability to separate what is culture and what is Quran, who said what and what did Allah say. And
but Arab included in Islam less cultural things than the other races. If you go to Southeast countries, you will see the more traditions got involved in
this is the idea. Again, there is a tendency from any culture to project its traditions and customs and on Quran itself.
As religion.
Yeah, but what we really need to elevate or bring the basic principles that will really apply to everybody, and this is how we keep Quran alive and applicable. But if we start really limiting it, because there is no commentator, in the whole history of Islam or in any really, and this applies really to every, religious experience. There is no one that can separate himself or herself from the circumstances. Today, what I always say that today we have new sciences. Today we have new tools. Today we have new skills. Again, I am not saying I want these sciences and tools to help me to like interpret Quran. No, they help me to pose the question at a higher level of understanding so that Quran will bring me a different answer. But if I kept asking Quran the question at the same level, it will not give me accept that answer. You see what I mean? So I need to use all these things that have become available to me in order to ask Quran the question. Unfortunately, I think we are doing it the reverse. And let me give you the example from my profession, your profession, okay? You have a patient, okay? And you feel that the condition of the patient is really very difficult and complicated. So you need something to help you to understand what is going on. Where do you go? To the books, to the text. Do you go to the text and come to the patient and interpret the book? Or you ask the book or the text or the reference to interpret your patient? We are not here to interpret Quran, my dear brothers and sisters. We are asking Quran to interpret us. But let us pose the question and state it in the right way. And you will have an example in the same surah where the problem is not in the condition, but the way this question is being asked. And this is why Quran will say this is not the right argument. Let us change, shift the argument in a different way in order to solve the problem. So Quran is a text to interpret us. We say tafsir al-Quran. I don't think Quran needs tafsir. We need to be interpreted. Let Quran help us to interpret my condition. Let Quran interpret this issue. But what would be the best way to ask the question? This is where I can get help from all these new sciences, new skills, new tools, especially in language, or including language. Because language, unfortunately, when it comes really to the Arabic language, or the language of Quran, the Quranic language, we have not done any work of value that would really elevate our understanding of the language of Quran. So this is really, we need to open this new area and ask people to start really working of how we can develop new sciences in relation to the Quranic language itself. The same way today we have philosophy of language, we have linguistics, sciences related to linguistics today. Is that right? So how can we say, okay, Quran can be a source, the reference for this era, and without really making any progress in all these tools that will help us to extract from Quran deeper meanings that work better to respond to the new challenges.
So the ayah 5 here says the same thing, like we were talking about critical thinking. Right away it says, these are the signs. These are you are witness to all these different signs. What are you going to do about that? It's asking a question.
Yes.
It's not, if you're a thinking person, you're not gonna interpret it one way. You're gonna try to figure out what's the real meaning behind it instead of taking the literal meaning of the words.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's
And let's say, for example, take for example justice, okay? And for Muslim, Allah is the just. So really we worship Him. Worship the just. Let's mother try to share what she prepared as lunch between her kids. She has really just in her mind, and she tried to be just as much as she can in her kids. She's not really practicing the injustice. Justice is really there. But now when you move at the society level, for instance, and you try to find a way to distribute wealth in that society in just way, it's become so complex. You can't even just imagine how much science or people of high quality and all what you can have to make it possible. There is a big struggle today in the whole world. You have 1%, for example, that own what 99% have. So how to bring that to make it possible? It's not the same. So this is why the meaning is, if you like, we share the same meaning. Mm-hmm. We worship the just. But it's in certain different era, you really need to have different way to achieve that goal. This is why we say the reference of meaning. So the meaning is if you like, you know, here I took just one example. But imagine Islam was introduced something is very, very complex, because Islam looks at the human being is very high. There's nothing higher than human being. So it gives him the trust that the universe refused to carry. And the human being say, hey, yes, I can carry it. So, and we saw together that al-dhulm, al-jahl, ignorance, and al-dhulm, the injustice, will be a main obstacle, you know, that will face human being to carry the trust. But the system is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has introduced to us is Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, Al-Sami', Al-Basir. Look the names. If I take just not the compound names, just this, you know, single names together, how you can, for example, if I take Al-Rahim, Al-Ghafur, Al-Qawi, Dhu Al-Intiqam, for instance, and they put them together, how you can really put all this together, just 4 of them? So imagine you try to put the 99 names at the social level to make them happening in a balanced way, okay? And everyone is connected with the other 99. It's not factorial 99. Just to imagine what type of society you need to create to achieve the mission why they were created. We saw that every creation is related to the purpose, why we are here. So if we were asked to worship وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا. This is explicitly, this is an order in the Quran. You ad'u Allah through His
beautiful names,
perpetual beautiful names, if you like. As Brother Walid reminded us, it's very beautiful. Al-Husna. It's not Al-Hasan. So it's you are in continuously moving. There is no end to it. Does not have
a limit,
a deadline.
Okay, ceiling.
Okay, ceiling. So this is why it's ufuq. It's horizon, and each horizon will open another horizon. So imagine we were asked to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through all these beautiful names. So the idea to work together, how to make that happen at the individual level, you can imagine how hard it is. And to feel that, look, each one of us, how old we are, you know. But how many names you were able really to connect and to live. So imagine you try to make that at the social level. So this is why it's very, very naive to think that a solution that is happening 1,000 years ago is going to help you achieve this type of goal, or other generation will play your role. It's a very simple example. Let's say, for example, I always talk to Brother Walid, I say, if we try to apply this approach to medicine today, okay? I will apply to the humanity the way we try to cure, you know, diseases and certain disease with the approach that we have 1,000 years ago. that approach was able just to save, for example, 500,000 people. Today we have 7 billion people. So if we have 500 million and 7 billion people, so I need really to lose 6.5 billion. It's even not possible, it's criminal. It's criminal that you do not play your role at certain time because you were created for that time. Because Allah is Al-Qadir, right? And is Al-Alim. And He is Al-Hakim. If I just take these three, the most knowledgeable, Al-Hakim, the most wise, and Al-Qadir. He's just, He knows proportion, you know. If I'm created for this time, I am for that time. So if my grandfather was created, for example, 200 years ago, in the system of Al-Qadir, he is exactly for that time, not for this one. So I should never doubt that this time where I was created is for me. And I will be judged to a level that can go to the paradise, or also the punishment can go to the hellfire. Imagine you go to the hellfire with Allah, who is the most merciful. Just imagine what you did. Just imagine the crime really you commit. With the most merciful, you go to the hellfire. Just imagine it. But also imagine what you can do to be rewarded with the paradise. Just think about it. So only you and only you that were created for that time can find the solution for their time at the level of action and meaning. Period.
And basically, I mean, the other thing that really made me think more about the analogy that I presented to you, the other place where Quran refers to the oath itself, like here, هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر. This is unique. You can't find it in other places where we see the oath. Quran is saying, think about this oath. Another place, when Quran talks about Quran كمواقع النجوم فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم وإنه لقسم لو تعلمون عظيم إنه لقرآن كريم. So Quran, you see, you have to think about it. There is a great analogy between Quran and the way you see the position of the stars in this universe. Each star has its own location and its own orbit. And the same thing, we need to approach Quran that has its verses, has its own also locations. And if we treat it as if outside its location and its orbit, it will give us the wrong message. Similar to what we see today. You see sometimes like they take it out of its context and project on it something from outside. Take it away from its orbit. And instead of being guiding, it's misguiding.
And it's very beautiful because the attribute itself, Al-Kareem, the generous.
Yeah.
It's not the generous, is not someone who can give just one time. So you need to have that ability to ask, because Al-Quran has a self-awareness and give attributes to himself that can help us how to approach him. Al-Quran is Al-Hakim. Al-Quran is Al-Mubin. Al-Quran is Al-Kareem. Al-Quran also لا يمسه إلا المطهرون.
The same verse, in the same paragraph.
I don't know that.
إنه لقرآن
Interesting.
في كتاب مكنون لا يمسه إلا المطهرون.
So purify yourself also. So it means, this is how, if I will say, I am not talking about you believe, you don't believe, but respect what the Quran is saying, because he's aware about himself before you approach him. There's no other book that describes
itself
as Kareem, Hakim, Mubin, في كتاب المكنون. There's no other books. So if it's Al-Kareem, I should not doubt that if I have that ability to ask the right question, I will get what I want. Because Al-Kareem will just give you, but you need to know what to ask. It's Al-Kareem. Why you need to doubt it?
My dear brothers and sisters, next time you are taking care of any task in your area, no matter what is your background, what is your specialty, what is the level of education, just ask yourself how many sciences you are really utilizing in order to just take care of that task.
Just to go home. How many sciences? Just to go home in half hour. Otherwise, you just go walking, it will be 24 hours just to reach your house.
If you reach in this weather, I mean, alive.
If you reach, yes.
Inshallah, we'll continue the discussion in 2 weeks because I think there is something next week, so we are not going to have our session. Okay? Inshallah. Yes?
You just said something, to reach home.
Uh-huh.
The weather is good, you reach there in say 10 minutes. But if you're snowing and sleet and everything, you take maybe an hour and you make adjustments.
Yes.
This is related to
Very good. Yes.
Right
Yes.
now. You have to make that adjustment to reach your goal. It's the same goal, driving, going home, but you make adjustments. I have a question you can think about later, maybe you can answer later. But in the Quran, there are a lot of places where Allah is addressing insan and jinnah. And one ayah says, why is Allah using the word jinn first and insan later? And what is the relationship between jinn and insan?
Let me just answer one because it's quick, but the second part we can, inshallah, just have to take really the time of the other group. Quran said it very clearly that jinn was created before man. وَالْجَنَّ خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ. He was talking about the creation of the human being, and then when the Quran mentioned about al-jinn, it says that that was created before. So it makes sense, like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ, because I mean this is really the order of creation. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now in other places we see al-ins before al-jinn because now in terms of the mission, we have a different mission from, and we need to assume a higher level of responsibility compared to other creatures in this existence, including al-jinn. So that also may explain why in other places ins is mentioned before al-jinn. Thank you.